All right, we're going to start looking at a new thing, and that is how to use while loops. So let's go and make a class called Intro to While Loops, and have a main method for that. And we'll start off with a little bit of notes here. So basically a while loop is a statement that allows us to repeat a set of code. Okay? And you could think about it like it's kind of an enhanced if statement. You know, like if we just go, if this thing is true, then do this code, but it only gets done once. While is like, if it's true, do it, and then check if it's still true. Okay? So it's like an enhanced if statement. Okay? And it looks like this. While this condition is true, do this code. All right? So let's just say, for example, that we wanted to, for some reason, print out all of the even numbers between 2 and 20. Okay? So if we wanted something like that, you could do, you know, system.out.print 2, system.out.print 4, system.out.print 6, etc., all the way up to 20. But it's much better for us to use a while loop to do that. So what we would do is we would start out with some kind of variable that I'm going to call number. So an int number that's equal to the first value that I want to use, which is 2. And then what we're going to do is use a while loop and say, as long as that number is less than or equal to 20, I want to do a couple things. And the first thing that I want to do is I want to print out the number. Okay? And I'm going to just separate each number with a space, so I'm going to add a space onto here. Okay? And the next thing that I want to do is tell it to basically go to the next number, okay? So to go to the next number, if I'm printing out all the even numbers between 2 and 20, then we're going to say something like number equals number plus 2. Okay? All right. So when we save and run this, we get this output. All right, so we get 2, 4, 6, all the way up to 20. All right. So let's just kind of add some stuff in here so that we can kind of see for sure what's going on here. So we're going to go system.out.println out here in front of the loop and say, here's the even numbers up to 20. And then we'll do another print line here just to show that we're done with the loop. Okay? So I'll just run this one more time so we can see what happens. Okay, here's the even numbers up to 20. 2, 4, all the way up to 20. Loop is complete. And I want you to understand that loop is complete is showing up on the same line as the numbers, because right here we're doing print and not print ln. So we could get the loop is complete to go on the next line. There's a couple different ways that we could do that. We could either do just like an empty system.out.print line right here, or there's a little trick right here. You can go \n, and that \n gives you a new line. Okay, so that's just a little trick that you learn along the way here. So let's talk about how this loop really works, okay? So what we want to be able to do is kind of chart out what this code is going to do. And what we're saying here is that number starts out at 2, okay? And then the other thing that we want to keep track of is whether this number less than or equal to 20 is true. Okay? So since 2 is less than or equal to 20, we would say that this is true. That tells me that I'm going to do this stuff in here. Okay? So I'm going to print out 2. We saw that happen over here. Okay? And then we're going to take number and make it equal to whatever number is plus 2 again. So now that's going to be 4. Okay, so it's not 2 anymore. Then what happens is after we do these 2 lines of code or whatever's inside of these brackets, we go back up and we check if the condition is still true. Okay, so so that's true. 4 is less than or equal to 20. Print 4, add 2 to number. That's 6. Is 6 less than or equal to 20? That's true. Print the number. Add 2 to the number. That's 8. Okay? And hopefully you guys get the idea that that's true, 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 true. And then eventually we're going to get to a number like 18. So these were all true. 18 is still true. Sorry. Okay? 18 is still true. So we're going to print 18. We're going to add 2 onto the number. That gives me 20. 20 is less than or equal to 20, so that's still true. Okay? We're going to print out 20. We're going to add 2 onto the number. And then we're going to check this condition again. 22 is not less than or equal to 20. And that's when I break out of the loop, go to here, and do the next thing, which is print out loop is complete. Okay? So that's when this is false. Don't do the body. Okay? So we stop doing the stuff that's inside the loop once we get to that condition that's not true. That makes sense to you guys? Alright, so let's just kind of complete some notes here. So this is our initial value for the loop. Here, the condition for staying in the loop, or for iterating, okay, which is kind of like a fancy word for repeating the loop, is number less than or equal to 20, okay? So the condition for iterating the loop is number less than or equal to 20, all right? So there's another kind of vocabulary term, and that is the terminating condition. Is the opposite of this, okay? So what's the opposite of number less than or equal to 20? Number greater than 20, okay? And so what we're saying here is we're going to continue doing the stuff inside of this loop as long as the number is less than or equal to 20. We're going to terminate the loop once the number is greater than 20. And we saw that in that example where we got number equal to 22. That's not less than or equal to, or that's greater than 20. That ended up terminating the loop. Okay? And then one of the things that we want to always have inside of our loop is we want to change the kind of control variable. Inside of the loop. Okay. So let's look at what happens if that doesn't, if we don't do that. Okay. So what we saw is that here's the even numbers up to 20. Loop is complete. If I comment out number equals number plus 2, and I don't have that in there, when I save and run this, okay, it looks like it's like just stuck there with all those 2's, but really it's still printing 2's, okay? And it's just going to keep on printing 2's until I either kill it or the computer runs out of battery, or you know, something else funny happens. Okay, so what's happening right now is number is 2. 2 is less than or equal to 20. We're printing the number. We're going back up here and we're checking if number is still less than or equal to 2. So 2 is still less than or equal to 20. It's always going to be less than or equal to 20. And so it's going to keep on printing. If that happens to you and you get something like this where you're like, all right, we call it an infinite loop. Okay, if I got an infinite loop, I can go here in Eclipse and kill this process. So I can stop the process by clicking that. Right? There's just, I think I let it go too long. So anyway, there's like an endless string of 2's being printed out there. There, it kind of moved. Okay, until I kill it. So we don't want to have what's called an infinite loop. Okay, another way that I could have an infinite loop is if I do have that number equals number plus 2, but I screw up my condition here. So let's say like we said, okay, we want to print all the evens from 2 to 20. And I say, okay, well, all those numbers from 2 to 20 are greater than 0. Okay? So let's say that I put in here greater than 0 instead of number less than or equal to 20. If I run that again, okay, now we're seeing this. You guys see what's happening there? I'm going to stop it a little sooner than I did the last time. Okay? So now it's saying, here's your numbers, and you can kind of see, hopefully, it's not letting me scroll up there, but these numbers just keep on getting 2 added onto them, okay? And this thing goes pretty quick. It's just going to keep on printing those numbers out, okay? So that's 2 ways that we can get kind of an infinite loop going, and we don't want an infinite loop, okay? We want to have something that's kind of controlled. So I want this to be less than or equal to 20, okay? So let's just kind of talk about this here. While loops have basically like 4 parts. Okay, part 1 is an initial value saved in a variable. Okay, so in our example of above there, that was number. Okay. The next thing that they have is a condition that can be false. Then they have a body of code. Okay, so what we mean by that is like some code that we want to repeat. For this one, we were just printing out the number. For another example, maybe you're doing a lot more than that. Okay. And then the fourth part is a change to the initial value. And sometimes you'll hear this thing here called a control variable. Okay? And so here we're going to change the control variable. Okay? And normally what we have here is our condition includes the control variable. Right? The body of the code doesn't have to have anything to do with the control variable. All right, is this making sense so far? So, for example, if I wanted to, print out "I'm not touching you" 10 times, okay? Like you ever, you want to annoy your brother or whatever and say, "I'm not touching you, I'm not touching you," right? We could say, well, we're going to have touch equal to 1 while touch is less than or equal to 10. Print out "I'm not touching you." And then change touch so it equals touch plus 1. Okay? So what I was saying before is this is what I would call my body of code. Okay? That's all I want to do is print out "I'm not touching you." Okay? It doesn't have anything to do with touch, the variable, but my control variable is initialized there. My condition has something to do with that control variable, and my control variable is changed right there. And so you can see this is getting printed out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. When touch is 1 through 10, the last value of touch would be 11, and 11 is not less than or equal to 10.